And in this video, I want to take you on one of our job sites, kind of show you a point of view on a shingle new roof that we're installing in La Cañada, and show you around the job. Hey guys, in this video I want to show you one of our projects in La Cañada. It was a shingle roof that we were doing, and we were replacing the roof on it. Just want to show you around our job site, the progression of the job, and a few things that we did extra on the job to make sure that this roof stays waterproof, watertight, and I think it'll be a good opportunity, and maybe some tips and pointers I can give along the way. So at this point of the job, we've already removed all the old roofing material and we're ready to install our new material. We've already replaced all the old rotten wood, fascia boards, all the eave boards, raft tails, stuff like that. You can actually see here, if you look closely, this is the new lumber that we've already installed. There's a lot of rot. This is an older home, probably, I would say, I think around 80 to 100 years old. So there's a lot of rotten wood and stuff like that we replaced along the way. The customer had decided to keep these gutters. Gutters were installed with some unique and interesting clips. So we had a little bit of a challenge keeping those on. We always recommend, especially with those older gutters, to replace them. But this time the customer opted out, so that's totally fine. We had to cover this roof last night due to all the rain that we've been getting, so we had it covered up to make sure there was zero chance, even though we ended up not needing it. It's always better to be safe than sorry. This job was a wood shake roof, so we had 2 layers of shingles that we tore off and a wood shake underneath, and underneath that wood shake we had what we call space sheeting. These are just pretty much 1x4 pieces of wood. This is the original wood to the house that's installed, about 4 to 5 inches apart. And the reason this was done was when the wood shake was nailed, it was nailed to the 1x above it, then there was a gap. This let the wood breathe and expand and contract as needed. Now, of course, when we're installing new shingles, we want to have solid OSB sheeting, which is what we've installed here. This is all new sheeting that we've installed. We have the inspector coming later on this afternoon, and they just come pretty much to inspect the nailing pattern of the wood and all that. Those orange dots that you're seeing, those are just the old round cap plastic nails that we used to cover up this roof temporarily. But other than that, we've got our new plywood installed. We've got the correct pattern and spacing. You want to make sure you always stagger your ends. You can see we're not installing it on one straight line. And then using a chalk line is always good, so you can see that little red line there is a chalk line that we use to mark our rafters, to make sure that when we're nailing, you always want to make sure you're hitting a rafter. You never want to just hit those 1x's for the space sheeting. You want to hit directly into the rafter to make sure you get the best grab, and to make sure that later on the plywood or the OSB doesn't pop up. Now, I did say plywood, but we prefer generally using OSB. We believe it's a superior product. Some people, especially maybe older school contractors, think OSB is a cheaper route or it doesn't save money. In reality, it's pretty much the same price. However, we decided to go with OSB unless someone requests CDX plywood. The reason we like OSB is because if there's ever any moisture in the future, it doesn't start delaminating. So since plywood is sheets of wood glued together, sometimes there's delamination that takes place, and we see a lot on older roofs too. So just based on our experience talking to different manufacturers, especially with the shingle manufacturer, we prefer using OSB. You can see the roof is currently being loaded. This is done with our partner and supplier. They're the ones who have these conveyor belts, and they're the ones who load these roofs. You can see there's a lot of material that bringing up by hand or carrying up a ladder will be a logistical nightmare, along with a back-breaking labor. So these conveyors are awesome. Most major suppliers do have these, and really the tricky part is coordinating the timing of it to make sure that the roof is removed the new plywood is installed prior to the material being delivered. You can see we've installed a layer of underlayment at the ridge, and the reason we do this is to make sure that the shingles are installed right now on top of the underlayment. Since we place the shingles at the ridge, we want to make sure that, just so it's easier for us later, so that we're not moving the shingles just to put underlayment in, we just kick out a roll of underlayment, get it installed prior to the materials being delivered. The material that we're using on this job is an Owens Corning product, so we're using Owens Corning Duration Cool shingles along with Owens Corning Deck Defense underlayment. And I want to point out to your attention that groove right there that we've cut. So what this is we're cutting a groove in and we're going to be installing a counter flashing in afterwards. We generally prefer to do that prior to the installation of the shingles, because if you do that after the installation of shingles, you get a lot of dust there, and I'll show you the counter flashing as we get closer to the end of the job. We've started the process of installing the shingles right now and installing our material. You can see we've got Owens Corning starter shingles that we're using. Then we've got our shingles on top. The pattern of this is very important. So we go about 5.5 to 6 inches back and just start off a row. So you can see here's where we had that groove cut. Right now we're installing step flashing and counter flashing 110 metal. Then later we're going to be installing that counter flashing on top of that. So you can see we've done a very nice job, our crew's done a very nice job of connecting that valley metal into that 110 metal. This is a trickier transition, I would say, because you've got some rake walls, you've got some head walls, stuff like that. But the crew's done a real great job of installing step flashing and all that. We've got the same detail going on there, and we've actually already installed the counter flashing there, as you can see. So behind that counter flashing, you've got step flashing going up. So really, this is like the heart of it. All these flashings is where the quality of craftsmanship comes along. Nailing shingles is relatively easy. Things like this, like you can see that valley coming into that chimney, that's a complicated corner there. So we want to make sure that the valley metal is bent up, so any water that's traveling is going to hit that metal, come along. Then we've got the step flashing installed there, so that was done very well. And the rest of it is pretty straightforward. Like, this field is super easy. A lot of times you'll see guys just, we just install real fast until we get to those detailed corners, and the details are what just take more time, a little bit more precision, but that's what really matters when it comes to the installation of a roof. I always say that our roofs are only as good as our weakest link. So like, if we have one flashing that's improperly installed, that's how good our roof is. We can install all the other components perfectly, but if that one flashing is not where it should be, unfortunately that roof's going to fail. This is an interesting custom vent that we had fabricated. The owner had something similar before, and he wanted to keep the same style of vent, so that's a custom fabricated vent. Definitely nothing standard. It's nothing you can buy at a supply yard. I want to show you guys kind of the finished product. I'm super happy with this roof. I think we did a great job on it. A lot of details here, especially right here at that wall right there. So I think we did a great job. Our crew did a great job in properly flashing it, getting everything done correctly. As I mentioned, this is an Owens Corning roof, so all the components that are available in Owens Corning we did use. We've got our flashing all painted up, our counter flashing. So that's our counter flashing installed there, and our valley flashing here. The valley flashings do come pre-painted. The counter flashing, however, doesn't. So the counter flashing, pipe flashing, stuff like that need to be painted. Generally speaking, whenever possible, we prefer purchasing pre-painted flashings, because the pre-painted flashings tend to last a lot longer, the finishes, because they're baked on, as opposed to just painting them on the field. We've got our O'Hagan vents in, low profile O'Hagans. Those come pre-painted as well. One thing I want to point out here is the spacing between the shingles and the O'Hagan vents. You can see we've got like a 1/2 inch gap, and that was done intentionally. That gap is very important to leave. It's what we call a waterway or a keyway that allows water to flow around the vents, and it's pretty much like a little channel for the water to flow. So important pretty much around all your flashings to leave those waterways, leave those keyways. You can see the same thing was done here, 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. Just allows water to flow perfectly next to those flashings. And overall, very happy with the way this roof turned out. This homeowner qualified for a Owens Corner Platinum warranty, so they're going to have a long-lasting roof. Guys, thanks for watching. We have a lot of videos on our channel related to all types of roofing. And if I missed anything in this video, or if you have any comments on how you like to do it, let me know in the comments below.